This is a video playlist. This is on pomegranates. This is the food playlist. First one is Exodus 28. I'm going to start with 31. It's talking about you shall make the robe of the ephod of all blue. It shall have in it an opening for the head with a woven binding around the opening, like the opening in a garment, that it may not be torn. On its skirts you shall make pomegranates of blue and purple and scarlet stuff around its skirts, with bells of gold between them. A golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate, round about the skirts of the robe. And it shall be upon Aaron when he ministers, and its sound shall be heard when he goes into the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes out, lest he die. Okay, and then we have Exodus number 39. There's only 40 chapters of Exodus. 39, line 24. I'm going to start at 22. Same thing. He made the robe of the ephod woven of all blue, and the opening of the robe in it was like the opening in a garment, with a binding around the opening, that it might not be torn. And on the skirts of the robe they made pomegranates of blue and purple and scarlet stuff, and fine twined linen. They also made bells of pure gold, and put the bells between the pomegranates upon the skirts of the robe round about, between the pomegranates, a bell and a pomegranate, a bell and a pomegranate, round about the skirts of the robe, for ministering, as the Lord has commanded. How about Numbers 13, line 23? 21, I'll start with. So they went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin to Rehob. Anyway, near the entrance of Hamath. When they went up into Negeb and came to Hebron and Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak were there. Hebron was built 70 years before Zoan in Egypt. Anyway, they came to the valley of Eshcol and cut down from there a branch with a single cluster of grapes, and they carried it on a pole between two of them. And they brought also some pomegranates and figs, and the place was called the Valley of Eshcol. That's spelled E-S-H-C-O-L. It was called that because of the cluster which the men of Israel cut down from there. Deuteronomy chapter 8, line 8 says, the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land of brooks of water, fountains, springs flowing forth in valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey, a land in which you will eat bread without scarcity, in which you will lack nothing, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you can dig copper. You shall eat and be full, and you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land that he has given you. How about 1 Kings chapter 7, line, I'll start at 15, I guess. He cast 2 pillars of bronze, 18 cubits was the height of one pillar, And a line of 12 cubits measured its circumference. It was hollow. Its thickness was 4 fingers. The second pillar was the same. He also made 2 capitals of molten bronze to set on top of the pillars. The height of the one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. And he made 2 nets of checker work with wreaths of chain work for the capitals upon the top of the pillars, a net for one of the capital, and a net for the other capital. Likewise, he made pomegranates in 2 rows round about upon the one network to cover the capital that was upon the top of the pillar, and he did the same with the other capital. Now the capitals that were upon the tops of the pillars in the vestibule were of lily work, 4 cubits. The capitals were upon 2 pillars, and also above the rounded projection which was beside the network there were 200 pomegranates in 2 rows round about, and so with the other capital. He set up the pillars in the vestibule of the temple, and he set up the pillar on the south and called the name Jachin. And he set up the pillar on the north, and he called its name Boaz. And upon the tops of the pillar was lily work. Thus the work of the pillars was finished. Now the same chapter, chapter 7 of 1 Kings, also line 42. On line 40 it says, Hiram made also pots and shovels and basins. Hiram finished all the work that he did for King Solomon on the house of the Lord. The 2 pillars, the 2 bowls and the capitals that were on top of the pillars, the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the tops of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks. 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were upon the pillars. 10 stands, 10 lavers upon the stands, and the 1 sea, and the 12 oxen underneath the sea. Now all the pots, shovels, and basins, and the vessels in the house of the Lord, and Hiram made for Solomon, were burnished bronze. How about 2 Kings? Chapter 25, line 17. Well, starting at line 13, it's probably the same story. The pillars were of bronze. They were in the house of the Lord. And the stands and the bronze sea that were in the house of the Lord, the Chaldeans broke into pieces and carried the bronze to Babylon. And they took away the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and the dishes and the incense and all the vessels of bronze used in the temple service, fire pans, the bowls, and what was of gold the captain of the guard took away as gold, and what was of silver as silver. And as for the 2 pillars and the 1 sea and the stands which Solomon made for the house of the Lord, the bronze and all the vessels beyond weight. The height of the 1 pillar was 18 cubits, and upon it was the capital of bronze. The height of the capital was 3 cubits. The network of pomegranates, all of bronze, were upon the capital round about. And the second pillar had the like, with the network. How about we skip? How about we go to Canticle 4? Now, when you see Canticle 4, that is really talking about the Song of Solomon's, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. So let me see. I am not in my normal book. I am in this new Bible. So if that sounded like you never heard it before, it's because we are reading from the New Oxford Version. Anyway, Song of Solomon is also called Canticle. Canticle 4 must be SOS 4, line 13. Yeah, so I'll start at 11. Your lips, the Song of Songs is a love song. Okay, it's like a poem. Your lips distill nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The scent of your garments is like the scent of Lebanon. A garden locked in is my sister. A garden locked is my sister, my bride. A garden locked, a fountain sealed. Your shoots are an orchard of pomegranates with all the choicest fruits. Henna, nard, saffron, calamus, cinnamon, frankincense, myrrh, aloe, cheap spices. A garden fountain of well of living water. Flowing streams from Lebanon. Canticle 6 would be SOS 6, line 11. It says, my dove, my perfect one, is the only one, the darling of her mother, flawless to her that bore her. The maidens saw her and called her happy. The queens and the concubines also, they praised her. Who is this that looks forth like the dawn, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, terrible as an army with banners? I went down to the nut orchard to look at the blossoms of the valley, to see whether the vines had budded, whether the pomegranates were in bloom. Before I was aware, my fancy set me in a chariot beside my prince. Return, return, O Shulamite. Return, return, that we may look upon you. Why should you look upon a Shulamite and upon a dance before two armies? I'm pretty sure if you go to this website, my channel, go to playlist, Song of Solomon, I read the whole love story on there. I did that one Valentine's Day, I think. Alright, chapter 7, line 12. I am my beloved's, and his desire is for me. Come, my beloved, let's go forth into the fields and lodge in the villages. Let us go out early into the vineyards to see whether the vines have budded, whether the grape blossoms have opened, and the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my love. How about something else? How about Jeremiah, chapter 52, line 22. Line 22. Again, talking about the pillars. Upon it was a capital of bronze. The height of the one capital was 5 cubits. A network and pomegranates, all of bronze, were upon the capital round about. And the second pillar had the like with pomegranates. There was 96 pomegranates on the sides. All the pomegranates were 100 upon the network round about. Yeah, that was a wonderful story, Jeremiah 52. Two Chronicles, that is probably going to match a lot like the Kings we just read. But we'll make sure. How about 2 Chronicles chapter 4. Line 13. Got line 13. it talks about 400 pomegranates. So I'm going to start at 11. Hiram also made the pots, the shovels, the basins. Hiram finished the work that he did for King Solomon on the house of God. The 2 pillars, the bowls, the 2 capitals on the top of the pillars, and the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks. 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover 2 bowls of the capital which were upon the pillars. Two Chronicles 3 talks about what Solomon was building. Again, he made chains like a necklace, and he put them on the tops of the pillars. And he made 100 pomegranates, and he put them on the chains. He set up the pillars in front of the temple, one on the south, the other on the north. On the south he called Jachin, and on the north he Boaz. So there's a pillar on the north and a pillar on the south, Jachin and Boaz. Okay, and then I have, see, this one says the word Sirach. Sirach 45. I don't know if I have Sirach. Yes, I maybe do. You might not have Sirach 45. King James is a scrapbook. King James and his followers are going to get every plague. All right, 45, line 9. I'll start with 8. He clothed him with superb perfection, strengthened him with symbols of authority, linen breeches, the long robe, and the ephod, and he encircled him with pomegranates and very many gold bells round about to send forth a sound as he walked, to make their ringing heard in the temple, as a reminder to the sons of his people, with a holy garment of gold and blue and purple, the work of an embroiderer, with the oracle of judgment, Urim and Thummim, a twisted scarlet, the work of craftsmen. Pomegranate is actually in the Quran. Right here next to me. It's in there only twice, I think, 3 times. It's in there, line 55, 68. In them are fruits and date palms and pomegranates. 6, line 141. It is he who produces gardens, cultivated wild date palms, crops of diverse tastes, olives, pomegranates, similar and dissimilar. Eat of its fruit when it's yield, and give its due on the day of its harvest, and do not waste. He does not love the wasteful. And Quran chapter 6, line 99. It is he who sends down water from the sky. With it we produce vegetation of all kinds, from which we bring greenery, from which we produce grains in clusters, and palm trees with hanging clusters, and vineyards and olives and pomegranates, similar and dissimilar. Watch their fruits as they grow and ripen. Surely in this are signs for people who believe.